Okay, so now we're recording, and for this class on September 27, so first of all, sana okay naman lahat kasi sa narinig ko na mabigat yung ulan. So that's also one of the reasons why this class will be a little shorter. So baka maraming mga hindi makapunta. And also one of the reasons why I'm thinking of recording this one because of that. But having said that, dalawa lang naman yung pakay natin today. First is yung homework. And then second is yung final set of slides on costs and technology, which dovetails into yung essay. Okay. So yung homework, good job dun sa second one. Nagkaroon lang ng problema na yung iba. Kasi yung iba, gumawa sila ng parang, di ba, ano siya? Ano ba siya? LI. I'm just gonna chat. Or actually, I'm just gonna, pwede naman pala mag-ano dito. Whiteboard. May whiteboard. I'm just gonna share a whiteboard. All right. Everyone can see the whiteboard, I hope. Yeah, everyone's good? Okay. So Li is a function of, ito I'm just gonna average MC, which is, should be share 1, MC1 plus share 2, MC2 plus share 3, MC3, all divided by P again. I'm just gonna expand this. Sir, hindi po na-view. Okay na po pala. Okay na? So ito lang naman yung gusto kong ipakita na na-learn ko na meron pala tayong whiteboard instead of chatting. Dapat nag-whiteboard na lang ako. Okay, so ito yung, di ba? Ito yung thing. Maraming approach and most of the people got it right. But I wanted to say that even if you don't compute for MC, okay lang sa akin yun as long as klaro dun sa discussion na yung relate. Di ba? And here's the thing. Everyone got the relationship except na hindi nyo na explain ng maayos yung link. So, yung suggestion ko sa inyo is pag nag-write kayo ng essay and you're trying to answer a question, you try to make an argument and not just write numbers down and then go to the conclusion. Okay, maraming ganun eh. Parang blah 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 is kino-compute niya lahat tapos nakasulat lang yung equation and then I therefore conclude ganito yung relationship. Diba? So totoo lang, you don't even need to compute the actual MCs. You just need to know the relationship. And I would have recognized that. Although there are a couple of ways to do this. A couple of ways, I think everyone identified it. MR equals MC. So once you are able to calculate MR as a function of quantity or share quantity, then you can get your MC and then actually compare. And then the next one is Fi is a share over elasticity. So these are the two ways of computing for it. So pwede. Bakit wala kayo nakikita sa whiteboard? Nakikita niyo yung whiteboard? So kung nakikita niyo yung whiteboard, nakikita niyo yung nakasulat. So hindi niyo nakikita yung nakasulat?
Nakikita po, sir.
So sining hindi nakakita? Si ano?
Ako po, sir, hindi ko po makita. Parang white lang po siya sa akin. Wala po yung mga nakasulat.
Okay. Anyone else who is also dealing with that? Kasi na-share ko na siya. So wala na akong madadagdag pa. But anyway, sino yung hindi mga si Jillian? Jillian pala, Jillian. So Jillian, basically, there's two ways of doing it. MR is equal to MC. Diba, ganyan? Or, so pag nakuha mo ng MR, nakuha mo ng MC, or Li is share over elasticity of demand. Okay, pwedeng ganyan lang, simple. But even if you don't compute for it, pwede ring Li is P plus share 1 MC1 plus dot divided by P. And then you can make an argument. So you can say that yung Li for fixed shares, Li is constant for fixed shares. Kasi Li is essentially also just HHI over eta, di ba? So constant siya for fixed shares. And then you'll realize that the right-hand side, para mag-equate dun sa left-hand side, you need something like high marginal cost is associated with low shares. Okay. So you'll need that. You'll need something like, okay, so if this is constant, okay, if the shares happen to be for a given configuration of shares, it's constant. So you'll need something like a low MC pag mataas yung share. Parang ganung klaseng argument yung okay na isulat. Yung problema sa ginawa ng iba, it's just literally a bunch of numbers. So gumawa ka ng equation of what like Li is some number, is a function of the following, and then sinabi niyo na yung relationship, which is, ano yung relationship? Someone can say?
I got it.
Yeah, inverse, the higher the share, the lower the marginal cost. Okay. And these are, you just need to do the extra step and sort of link yung equation na ginagawa ninyo dun sa argument. Okay. So yun lang naman yung comment ko dun sa homework. Other than that, everyone got the fundamental point. Any questions? A couple of other things, kung pwede sanang PDF at saka kung pwede sanang lakihan ng konti yung handwriting. Kasi hindi pala pwede mag-zoom dun sa Ooglet. Okay, so I'm gonna close the whiteboard now. That's pretty much it for that whiteboard. Okay. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit more about cost and technology. Okay. So everyone can see the shared presentation, I hope. Okay. So I'm going to let you guys read this on your own. I won't spend too much time. This should be quite clear. We finished here with the increasing returns to scale in the cost function. And we can see that it's a function of alpha and beta. So hindi ko na uulitin yon. And that's related to this notion on the production side of returns to scale. Okay. So you should know the case of diseconomies of scale, which is decreasing returns to scale, as well as constant returns to scale. Okay. Any questions about this slide, about what lambda is and what we're talking about here dito sa increasing returns to scale? So, i-repeat ko lang, baka narinig nyo rin sa micro. Returns to scale is simply a replication argument. So, anong mas maganda? I-double natin yung inputs or i-double natin yung firms na gumagawa given the same inputs? Diba? So, kita niyo ba yung difference? It's like, give Gabby twice the money, twice the land, twice the everything, and will Gabby double his output? Diba? Or keep Gabby's land and materials and everything the same, and then idagdag natin si Lawrence, diba? With the same output, with same land, with the same input. Diba? So doble ba? Yan. So yun yung idea. And yung returns to scale is paano kung kay Gabby lang, pag dinoble mo yung inputs ni Gabby, lahat ng inputs ni Gabby, dodoble rin ba yung output ni Gabby? Yun yung returns to scale. And yung increasing is more than double. And yung decreasing is pag dinoble mo lahat ng inputs ko, hindi siya double. So mas maganda sana kung dinagdag si Lawrence, mas maganda si output. Kasi kung output ko, lahat ng inputs ko is a given, and then marereplicate ako. Magkakaroon ng second Gabby si Lawrence with the same inputs. For sure, dodoble yung output nun, di ba? Pero kung si Gabby yung dinoble mo, hindi niya magdodoble yung output niya. Pag dinoble mo yung inputs ko, pero ako hindi, isa lang yung firm, or isa lang yung gagawa, or isa lang yung enterprise, hindi siya dodoble. Yun yung decreasing returns to scale. So any questions about that? About returns to scale? Okay, so that's like and that's measured by alpha and beta. So if alpha and beta is just equal to 1, then pag dinoble mo lahat ng inputs ng isang firm, dodoble rin yung output niya. So yun lang kasimple. Okay, so here we talk about yung method ni DeLoker, okay, which is the Global Market Power paper. So question, have you guys seen all of the PDFs on Uble? It's there already also. Okay, may nakita yung isa. Okay, meron. Okay. So great. So now's the time to like start checking those out, because there are 3 topics. So you just choose 2 topics, right? And 1 paper in the topic. Okay. And one of our topics is market power. But to be honest, no one has read it yet at this point, right? Has anyone read it? I'm just curious. Any of those papers, especially the first 2, si Medallia on yung scoping paper on manufacturing, and yung market power ni DeLoker. You guys can chat. Wala pang nakakabasa, no? Or just thumbs up kung wala pa. Kung hindi nyo pa nababasa. Hindi pa. Okay. So, like, today is a good day for you guys to check at least those market papers out. Okay. So, and they're accessible naman to the general reader, like to you guys. You should, at this point, know enough about the topic to like read the paper, okay, and to try to think about answering the questions. Okay, so let's think about this one first. Ito yung method ni DeLuca. Okay. So, alam niyo naman yung cost min, di ba? So, ginawa niya yun sa class, for sure. And then, FOC is first order condition. Okay. You minimize the total cost here with respect to itong output na ito. And then the left FOC for labor would be the marginal cost here. And then the right side would be your constraint. Right? Okay. So, ano yung left-hand side? Yung W is the wage. Okay. That says, pag in-increase mo yung L, yung mangyayari is yung total cost mo tataas at least by L, at least by W, right? And then, you equate that to yung constraint mo. Okay, which is the lambda times the marginal product of labor. And then if you remember in your class, the lambda here is actually, this is the Lagrangian multiplier for your constraint. And your constraint is basically your total output. Diba? And lambda is meant to be yung shadow value ng increasing your total output. So therefore, it's marginal cost. You're increasing L, and through increasing L, you're also increasing output. And lambda is a variable that sort of measures yung value of increasing the slack in your constraint or increasing quantity, increasing your target quantity. So, yun, lambda should be marginal cost in that sense. Okay? In yung interpretation mo ng lambda. Now, suppose that you have a markup, and this is now a multiplicative markup. So, yung markup natin usually is learner, diba? Price minus marginal cost. What if it's just price divided by marginal cost? So, it's a slightly different thing. But in this sort of configuration, ito yung ginagamit nila. Ito yung multiplicative. Okay. So, question, the markup here, if there's a markup, what should be the value of mu? This one. If it's price over marginal cost. Okay, hindi ko nababasa ni Juan. That's fine. Now is a good day to start reading those papers. So this is the basic idea for the markup. Ano yung markup? Ano yung value ng mu? Kung may markup ka over marginal cost. Yes, greater than 1. Salamat. Tama. Kasi kung perfect competition, price equals marginal cost, so 1. And kung may markup ka, then mas mataas si price kaysa kay marginal cost. So, ganun lang siya kadali, di ba? Kailangan, kung meron kang market power, this mu is greater than 1. So, if you do that, you can replace this lambda here with mu, which already contains lambda and p. No, yun lang. Pinasok lang natin yun doon. Okay. And given further derivations, you can have the markup is equal to this one, PQ over WL, okay, times partial of F with partial of L and Q over L. So, ito, nakahiwalay na siya. This is just, anong tawag dito? Anong tawag dito? Like in what's your interpretation of this first term here? What is PQ? What is WL? Someone can write it or just speak it. Oh, ito yung madaling part. Ano yung interpretation nito? Yes, exactly. Right? Revenue divided by labor cost. Kaya, it's actually the reverse of the share. Kasi yung share of labor cost, dapat yung WL yung nasa taas. Diba? So this is actually the inverse of that. Binaliktad mo. Kaya siya 1 over 1 over 1 minus alpha. No? And then 1 minus alpha is the share on labor cost. Kaya yung 1 minus alpha nasa baba kasi in-invert mo. Okay ba yan? Hands up? Hands up. Hold up naman yun. Thumbs up? Okay ba yan? Kaya nandun siya sa baba. Diba? So that's just the reverse or inverse of labor cost. Thumbs up or wala? Okay? Okay. So klaro naman, di ba? Ito naman, dapat nakita niyo rin to, pero I'm not sure. So this is, pag sinulit po siya ng ganito, this is actually called the elasticity of output with respect to labor. That means, pag tumaas yung labor ng 1%, si output or si Q, tataas by this percent, epsilon percent. So meron tayong markup equation. Si markup is just equal to these two things. Si elasticity of output with respect to L divided by the share of labor. So it's very neat result. Okay. And then you also have the same for the other input. In this case, dalawa lang yung input. Kaya 1 minus alpha yung L, alpha yung isa, yung K. So any questions about this slide? So very easy. Actually, these two are the key concepts dun sa Global Market Power paper ni Developer. Ito lang siya. And when you're reading that paper, you should be able to look and check this out. And see this, and then see this one. Okay? Which is essentially the same thing. It's one for each. One for each input. One for each input. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so we can move on. Eto, you can just, I don't know how advanced you were when it came to econometrics or even kung dinascuss nyo ang TFP. Dinascuss nyo ba ang TFP in another class, say macro? Okay, this is not really the focus of our class, but you can just take this as given. But I'm interested in you knowing the interpretation. This one means the derivative of the log of Q, and the derivative of the log of X is just dx over X. And this is just the percent change in X. So this is the percent change in Q. Okay, has to be equal to the elasticity of output with respect to that input times the percent change in that input. Okay, so this one is just your basic equation relating the changes in your output with the changes to your inputs. And then meron kong additional technological progress term dito, which is not reflected in the change in your inputs. Now you substitute the markup, because you remember this guy is equal to the markup times the share. Babalik tayo doon. So this guy alone is just the markup times the denominator. Diba? So that's why you're able to do this. So does everyone get the movement from this equation to this equation? Okay. So now you can estimate mu in a regression equation. And yun yung ginawa ni Hall si 1998. Meron siyang results in the textbook for the United States. Any questions so far? Thumbs up if there's no questions. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so I will let you guys read a lot of the paper, and then since hindi niyo pa nababasa, dapat mas maganda kasi kung binasa niyo muna. And I'm just going to, at this point, give you guys a big overview of the DeLucker and Eckhout paper on global market power. Okay, so actually maganda kung kaya niyo pumunta kayo sa Uble ngayon or after this discussion, and then you read that paper first. But I wanted to take this time in these slides to point out things in that paper. Okay. So first, yung markup values or yung markup expression, yun yung point ng paper. Na-calculate niya yung markup. Kumuha siya ng data for different countries, including the Philippines. And mako-compare niya si Philippines to many different other countries. So that's the cool thing about that paper. There's a Philippine component. There's an Asia component. Okay. So essentially, yung describe ko is basically yung ginawa niya. Except maraming mga details on the estimation of the elasticity of output with respect to inputs, which you can read, but it's not essential for our class because that's an econometrics issue. But essentially, I want you guys to look for that, to look for how he measured the markups. So may mga other topics in this paper. So the first thing I want to talk about is reallocation. Make sure that you read the reallocation part. Okay. And they calculate markups at the firm level, and they use sales suites for their main results. The question is, first of all, they see na tumataas yung markup across the board, across all countries, especially in North America and Europe. The interesting exception for the results actually is tumaas yung Philippines sa bumaba. Ganun yung kwento ni Philippines. But in general, what is the role of reallocation to high markup firms? Okay. So pwede kasing tumaas siya dahil tumaas yung share of output ng high markup firms, or tumaas yung markup kasi lahat, regardless of high markup ka or hindi, tumaas yung markup mo. Okay. So yun yung issue ng reallocation. And then they talk about that. So may question ba on the concept of reallocation? Kasi yung reallocation, interesting sa kanila yun. Kasi baka naman hindi lahat tumataas, di ba? Baka lang lumalaki yung ibang firm na mataas yung markup. Kita niyo ba yung issue? So yun yung gusto niyang i-examine. So any questions on reallocation? And then they decomposed it related to reallocation. They decomposed the change in the markups to within. Okay. So kung nag-increase ba yung markups within firms for fixed shares, right? And all the other reallocation. So entry, exit, changes in shares. Next, they talk about profits. So meron silang profits at saka may profit rate sila. Okay. And then mag-assume sila ng R, which is the rental rate of capital. It's not something typically you can calculate, but this should reflect yung competitive return to capital. So it should equal at the very least the replacement of capital, which is depreciation. So my implied profit rate based on the production function. And then there's this relationship between markups, profits, and scale economies. So I wanted to explain this. This is a much easier, I think, straightforward way of doing it kesa dun sa ginawa ni DLE. But it's the same idea. It's the same. So the markup is essentially these two terms and these two terms. So this and this are the same. CV is just AC over MC, and that's the scale parameter. You've learned that in the class, right? So the only question is PR over TC. And that's a form of profit rate. And you can sort of interpret that as the rate of profit. Okay. So they're able to sort of tease this out, this relationship. And what do they see? The higher the markup, the higher the profit rate. So may relationships in markup at saka sa profit rate. Okay. But then they assume V is equal to 1 overall. Okay. So as you can see, merong relationship si markup tsaka si profit rate. Pero kasama rin dun si V. So it's better if you're able to measure V as well, which is the scale economies parameter. Especially if you're comparing across industries. Because some industries could have a high V, and that's the reason why mataas yung markup. And pinag-usapan na natin yan, di ba? Yung, who remembers that? Yung scale economies as a reason for markups? You guys raise your hand. Scale economies as a reason for markups. So there are two reasons why you have markups. Because the profits are high, or you've got scale economies. And in the paper, he talks about this relationship between markup, profit rates, and scale economies. Any questions about this slide? So when you read the paper, I want you guys to look for this discussion on profits. Okay. And on Thursday, for the people who are interested in that paper, I want you guys to, download the paper today and then start reading it, and then babalikan natin to on Thursday. Okay, so merong second paper on this topic, which is the PCC paper on competition in manufacturing industries. So ang dami ng results, and at this point you already know everything that you need to know to sort of understand it. You need HHI, right? You need the learner index. Lahat yun nandun, and they discuss the APCM, the price cost margin or the adjusted price cost margin. But here I just wanted to point out, see, adjusted price cost margin is this one. Okay. And this is just anong tawag dito? Profit rate. They don't really call it a profit rate. They call it APCM. But kita niyo naman na profit rate siya because it's profit divided by total output. So it's related to the profits of the individual enterprise. Kita niyo ba yan? Thumbs up. This is profits, diba? Profits divided by volume of sales. Okay, so thumbs up if you see that it's a profit rate. Yeah, kita niyo, diba? Parang profit rate siya. Okay, and this is exactly how Medallia et al. Computes for it. Ito siya. And nag-assume rin siya ng, well, actually may total labor cost si data ng Philippines. Meron tayong depreciation, tsaka meron tayong R. Which is I think, well, I forget now what's in it, but these are also variables that you can measure in the Philippine enterprise data, which relate to the cost of maintaining capital. Please read that in the paper. It's a good one. Yeah, so it should look familiar. It's the same idea as the profit rate from the Looker. The profit rate is not necessarily equivalent to markups because of merong relationship si markups, profits, and scale. So kailangan mo rin ng scale economies to really complete that relationship. And then I talk about table 12, and then APCMs are falling. And true, maybe markups are also falling. Okay, but it could be that scale economies are also falling. Actually, not falling. Oh well, yeah. Okay, so we also note that the relationship between HHI and APCM is slightly negative. Okay. So HHI, what did we learn? HHI is related to the learner index through the elasticity of demand. Okay. Meanwhile, APCM is actually the profit rate, which is related to markups and scale economies. So there are a few confounders here between HHI and APCM, or the profit rate. The things that can interfere with a clear relationship. So dapat sana may positive relationship itong dalawang to, right? But then there are some confounders that can confuse the relationship between HHI and APCM. So remember that when you read the text. So again, I would invite you guys to, this is the last slide, to download si Medallia also and check it out. If only to find out if this is the thing that you'd want to write about. Okay. So thumbs up if nakuha niyo. So essentially, I'm asking you guys to download today and then bring it to class next week. Even if you're not gonna write on it, just download and check it out. Para at least by Thursday, malalaman nyo na if that's what you want to think about. Finally, I wanted to talk about, and this is, I guess, the most important part, which is the questions for the essays. Now, the essays will be due later pa. I'm thinking late November, probably early December. All of the papers are already available. And bahala kayo kung anong topic yung gusto niyo. Okay? Basta by the deadline, we should be able to submit papers already. Ayun. So wala pa tayong deadline. But since you have these two papers already and you know the concepts behind these papers, so for these two papers, if you are interested in doing market power, you can start doing it. The other thing is that the reason why is these two papers are the one that's sort of analysis heavy or quantitative. So if you have a micro class now, or not even an econometrics class, baka ito yung gusto niyong gawin essay. So general instructions muna tayo. So answer these questions briefly and comprehensively. 5 pages, 1 page per question. So mga 5 pages max. Okay. If you're gonna do a regression, I highly encourage that if you're taking your econometrics class now, or if you want to return to your econometrics class, show the regression table and discuss the regression table. Okay. So these two papers kasi are more quantitative, as you will see. So for global market power, I'm going to ask you to download some data. And then I also put a version of Medallia's dataset at sa Uble. And then I'm going to ask you to plot the data. And then I'm going to ask you to discuss the production function method further. So I wanted to read what they wrote. Talk about globalization, which is the one thing that's not in our slides. In their slides, we talked about the profit rate. We talked about the allocation. And then we talk about here, I want you guys to talk about how they dealt with globalization. May relationship ba si markup tsaka sa globalization? And then labor share, this is also something that they talked about. So here I'm asking you to download the the labor share data from this one, which is in this link. Okay. And then the global market power paper, they say there's a connection between labor share and markups. So what is that relationship? We explain the relationship. Okay. And then look at that data. KN paper versus the markups from the developer. So i-compare, gagamitan nyo ngayon tong shares of labor that comes from the Philippines here and the markups from the developer, which I think is here. Okay, then you're supposed to compare them. Question. Yeah, you can work any two as long as, so my question, si Gillian. Hi, sir, can we work on any two of the 5 papers or my specific po na essay per topic? Okay, so the answer is yes. Any two as long as different yung topic. Okay, kasi ano yung topics natin? Tatlo yung topics. One is market power. The other is oligopoly models. And the last one is antitrust. Okay, so thumbs up if you got the 3 topics. Yes. So as long as you pick one essay and one topic and then submit 2, so yes, you can generally work on almost any of the 2 of the 5 papers. So from market power, you either do global market power, which is itong si Dulucker, or you do competition in Philippine manufacturing from Medallia. Okay? And then pick another topic, which is either oligopoly or antitrust. And the questions are all here already. So alam niyo na kung ano yung mga dapat yung sagutin. So hindi siya open-ended. You have to address these questions to get the points, right? And you have to be able to make that argument. Okay? Make an argument and address the questions. So for Medallia, it's similar. So remember that the data for Medallia is already uploaded. So comment on the differences or similarities between Aldaba 2008 and these newer estimates from Medallia et al. So this is sort of an extension kasi of an older paper. So describe the structure, conduct, performance paradigm used in this paper. Okay. Using the data from Medallia, attempt to replicate table 14. So that's the relationship between HHI and APCM yata, table 14. Did I get that right? Check it out. I'll check what that is. Correct, that's table 14. What is the relationship between HHI and APCM? So i-plot niyo yung data. So use whatever software you want. For those taking econometrics, there's a good chance to use actual econ data from IO. So do regression diagnostics, the ones that are taught to you, especially look at the the distribution of errors, look for outliers. Yeah, specifically look to see if C27 and C30 are outliers. Okay, and why they're outliers. May mga statistics related to outliers. Using the data from Medallia, attempt to replicate table 15. Okay, so there's another regression. The purpose of this document, meaning Medallia et al., is to prioritize certain sectors. So describe the prioritization method. Okay. What are the blind spots or confounders that this method might ignore based on the industry selected? Okay. So ito yung topics, ito yung questions ng essay. So babalik lang ako sa general instructions. So be brief and as comprehensive as possible. I will grade you based on your replies, the quality of your writing, and your presentation. So Make it look presentable and nice, and make sure your writing is succinct and comprehensible. Okay. Important yung comment kanina din sa homework. Make an argument. Okay. Make connections between what you're writing, clear connections. And don't just jump to the conclusion. So make plots, make tables, make regression analyses. And this is important. You may ask about your results during discussion class. So during class, if you want to like flash your work or just talk about the regression, please do. It doesn't even matter what we're talking about. Mag-move on. By this point, mag-move on na tayo from this topic. But anytime between now and December, you can flash your presentations and flash your results, and we can just chat about it. So I won't tell you the answer, but you have to be able to make the best, good argument based on your presentation. Okay. So these questions are also available sa Uble. All right. And finally, the first two questions or first two essays are the quantitative ones. Although meron rin konting quantitative dun sa iba, sa dalawang iba, but not as much. If you are able to do it, choose one from market power because it will allow you to like practice some econometrics. And that's important for you to do. So I highly encourage that. Also, any questions about this requirement for the class? Okay, so walang questions. So again, yung homework natin, meron tayong homework this weekend. By the way, meron tayong homework on costs, right? And I'll leave you guys to discover that. It's about, I think meron siyang question on minimum efficient scale. Okay. So every week may homework naman, tsaka nakalista lahat ng homework, okay? And then submit nyo ulit, I'll grade on Sunday. So that'll give you some time until Sunday. Wala. As long as sagutin nyo lang. Walang format. The key thing here is you address the questions. So a good format here to make sure you do address the questions is to make sure yung header nyo is question 1. Diba? This is my response to question 1. And then the next one is, it's not really more of an essay, it's more of like a structured short answer. Okay, I'm just calling it an essay because it's like 5 pages. Wala. Bahala kayo. As long as you make it short and succinct, 1 page per question, 2 pages max. Okay. So on Thursday, so other than the homework on the weekend, on Thursday, I want you guys to read Beloker and Bedalia. Okay. And then you can share if you guys are interested in one or the other. So may quantitative discussion on Thursday. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss. So I'll wait for like a couple more minutes for a question. But again, on Thursday, we'll just talk about this again. And I want to know who is interested in doing market power, a topic on market power. So walang questions? Kung wala ng questions, I'll stop sharing. And then I'll stop the